Hello, fellow investors. Welcome to another episode of Ritter On Real Estate, where I teach you how to passively invest like a pro. Today, we've got a returning guest, Paul Ross. Paul Ross is an author, speaker, trainer, master hypnotist, and master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. For the past 30 years, he's taught tens of thousands of people the power of language to persuade, sell, heal, turn stumbling blocks into stepping stones, and pain into passion. Paul's speeches and trainings have motivated audiences around the world to discover their power to design their own results. And Paul, thanks for coming on the show again. I'm happy to have you here today.
I love it, Kent. Thank you. It was so much fun doing the last one. Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to share just little tiny bits of my knowledge and experience doing this for 30 years. And it's genuinely my joy to talk to you. You're a fantastic interviewer.
Well, I appreciate that. And yeah, if you guys want to check out the first episode Paul was on, he was on episode 48. So scroll down back, gosh, I think we're on 85 now. So about halfway down your list and you'll find Paul's first episode. He gives a really good overview of NLP and just different ways to be persuasive and to influence others. Today, we're going to dig in. We're going to talk a little bit about some of my own personal experience. And then we're going to dig in a little bit to a new framework that Paul has to help us just maximize our mindset, because we know as entrepreneurs, as investors, just as people in general, mindset matters. Everything starts with mindset. I mean, your mindset is really your launching pad for, I think, everything else and all that you can do. So before we dig into all that, Paul, just remind folks a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your background.
Right. So I am a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. I don't want to take too deep a dive into that, but NLP, in my way of thinking about it, is the study of how language structures structures consciousness, shapes decisions, drives behavior. One thing I like to say, you're never selling your product or service or your pitch to the buyer. You're always selling decisions and good feelings about decisions. So it's really important to remember that. So that's part of the heart of what I teach. And that's NLP is a way to structure those decisions and also to structure your own state of mind. So you're in the optimum state of mind to present what it is you're going to present. I'll give you a metaphor. I've used this metaphor before. Let's say I'm going to conduct a current of electricity and I need to use two conductive mediums. It can be a sheet of gold foil or sheet of cardboard. Which one of those is going to conduct? It's not a trick question. Which one of those is going to conduct the electricity?
The gold.
Exactly. So your state of mind is like the conductive medium, and the words you're going to use is the electricity. If you're in that cardboard state of self-doubt or negative thinking or emotions that are keeping you trapped or reactivity, then your words are just going to go down the toilet. Because here's the thing, your prospects, if you're in rapport with them, are going to match your state. So if you're in a state of self-doubt or nervousness, etc., they're going to match that. And then they're going to think, they're not going to realize they're matching that. They're just going to think, hey, I'm feeling nervous, I'm full of self-doubt. That person must not be trustworthy. They're not going to get that it's, do you understand that you're not, they're not going to get that it's not a matter of you being trustworthy. It's a matter of that flow of state of mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's more about you're kind of projecting your internal state of mind outward, and it's affecting how they feel.
That's why rapport can be dangerous, because if you don't have the right state of mind, if you don't have the right mindset, because if you're in rapport with someone, they're going to feel what you feel. So you better make sure your mindset is correct before you go into any negotiation, any kind of sale. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think that's a really really good point you made that I think is often lost is you're not selling your product, you're selling the decision about it, and you're selling how they feel about it, right? And I
Correct.
know I don't know, you may know the actual numbers. I know that the quote I've heard is something, people will only remember, a really small percentage of what you say, but they always remember how you made them feel, right?
Correct. Correct.
And so that's, yeah, so language is really powerful. It also talks about how your own mindset is really powerful, not just on yourself, but also on what you're projecting outward and what other people are picking up, right?
Correct. Correct. That's why they're so inextricably tied together. That's one of the reasons why mindset is so important. But it's also important. I'm not going to swear in your show. I often, when I talk and do trainings in front of large groups, I have a talk training. I don't really talk, I teach. I'm a teacher and a trainer, not a motivational speaker. I have a talk called How to Get the Bleep Out of Your Own Way and Have a Mindset that really works in the real world. And so one of the things I teach is our normal state of consciousness is not to be positive and to look for opportunity. As entrepreneurs and people who are looking for investments and that sort of thing, we have to get ourselves into that state. But we're hardwired by the amygdala to look for negativity, to look for danger, to look for possible threats. It's just how we're hardwired. So we have to sort of go against the stream and become aware of when those things are arising. May I share a formula that I created?
Yeah, please.
So when you are in, I'm addressing the audience when I say you, it's what my mother would call the editorial you. When you find yourself in a negative state, when you have negative self-talk, if you try to push through it with positive thinking, there's going to be a problem. You're going to have an internal war. On your first program, I believe I gave the metaphor of a robot that my
Hmm.
sister bought for my little brother as a
That's
gift.
right.
And I took the forward button and the backward button, I pressed them at the same time. The robot developed an internal conflict and it began to shake and it fell over. So if we try to go from negative to positive right away, we're going to have that internal conflict. This is why self-change and etc. feels exhausting, because we're often fighting ourselves. So instead, I don't want you people listening out there to go from negative to positive. It's too big a leap. I have a formula called ADRA. ADRA stands for awareness, investigate, disrupt, reset, action. So let's talk about that. The first element, ADRA. So if you're having negative talk, negative emotions, often they're so automatic, we're not even aware of them. So the first step is awareness. Be aware that something's going on in your body, in your brain that's troubling you. Second bit is to investigate, to ask yourself, what am I feeling in my body? What is the flow of body sensations? What are the actual emotions that are coming up? What's my internal dialogue? What am I saying to myself? What am I visualizing? So does that make sense? Awareness, investigate,
Hmm.
disrupt, do
Yeah.
something. Do something to disrupt that flow. And the best thing that I found that people can do is something with their physiology. I'm going to just move my camera a little bit. This is a really good one. Can you see what I'm doing? If you put the right hand under your left armpit and your right hand on your left bicep, this
Hmm.
is an incredible way to disrupt that negative flow of feeling and sensation. See, the body is the container of all your flow of emotion. If you do this, it's an incredible reset. And then you just take a couple of breaths, and that allows you to disrupt that flow of negative self-talk, negative, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then the R, AIDR, is to reprogram or reset. So what direction do you want to go? What are the thoughts that will actually serve you? And then here's the most important step, take action. Because what I can tell you as a hypnotist is the subconscious mind, which runs the show. And any conflict, by the way, between the subconscious and the subconscious is always going to win. You've got to take action, because the subconscious mind or unconscious mind, I use them interchangeably, is impressed by action. So if you do all this resetting and get to a new frame of mind and you don't take action on it, the subconscious says, you're not being serious, forget it, I'm not going to listen to you. It's a very simple process, but the heart of the process is, don't try to go immediately from negative to positive. It's too big a leap. Involve awareness, involve interrupting what's going on. And the best way you can do that is through your physiology, not through self-talk.
Interesting. And what is it about that positioning that makes that so effective?
I don't know. It's very comforting. I learned this from an expert on healing trauma. His name is Peter Levine. Peter Levine created something called somatic experience for extremely traumatized people who were veterans, who were in their vehicle got blown up, or they were shot, or people of automobile accident survivors, people who were violently attacked in crime. And for some reason, it just calms the nervous system. It shuts down the amygdala, that part of the brain that's panicking, and re-engages the prefrontal cortex, which is the seat of our ability to direct our emotions and our seat of judgment and emotional regulation. I'm getting a little too egg-headed and scientific.
No, I mean, I think it's fascinating. I think it's, that framework is a really practical process, that it's an easy kind of, was it 5-step process
Yep.
for people to follow. And so I think
do it that quickly.
Yeah, I think that's valuable. Because like we said, being in that mindset is that positive, well, not positive, I guess, but just being in the right mindset is critical for everything that you're going to do. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, and even, I'll validate just from my own experience. I was so intrigued by the things that Paul was talking about on that last episode that I signed up for some coaching with Paul. Be transparent about that. And
you were, before you go any further, you were my favorite client for the period of time we worked together. I told you it made my whole work week.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's
I know you have to say that on my
no, I don't
show,
have to say bleep.
But I wanted to bring that up because it obviously starts with mindset, but then I think there's also as you get into the neuro-linguistic programming, just understanding that, there's really a lot of value there from a real estate investment standpoint. Really any communication, but my specific example is, I was negotiating on a contract to buy an apartment building with a seller who was, just unsophisticated. He was not a real estate professional, a very kind of mom and pop. And honestly, during the transaction, before we could get it under contract, as we were going back negotiating, he got a little spooked and he walked away from the table. And so I wanted to keep the deal together. I wanted to buy his property. So I had to get him back. But I also had to get him to agree to the terms I wanted him to agree to. And so, I was going into just a very critical meeting with him and his son. So there were interesting dynamics. And, Paul was able to help me craft a message through using some of his techniques that really, I'll tell you a long story short, 45 minutes through negotiating through that meeting, at the end of it, I got him to agree to exactly what I wanted to and see things my way. And we got a contract signed the next day.
A very big contract,
multi-million-dollar contract. And so, and the reason I say that is because,
can I tell you, I got to interrupt you. You were a fantastic student. Because I remember I gave you 7 sentences to say. I gave you 7 of them, and you didn't go, well, I don't know if I could do it. You followed them to the letter. So you were a great student.
Well,
High five to you.
I
High five
appreciate
to
that.
you. Claps for you, because I can't work with people who don't get it and who don't follow. I only work with people who are smart like you and sharp and who get it and who follow. So points to you.
Yeah, and I'll say honestly, it was a little. I mean, some of the things that you had me say don't come out so naturally. I mean, when I say them
No,
to myself, they sound kind of weird. But
yeah,
the thing is, you got to get over is other people don't interpret them that way. Other people don't really notice. Oh, that was a funny way to say that.
nope.
And what I found was, so I basically started the conversation, started the meeting by setting the tone by reading essentially the script that we had put together. And I found it was really laying out undertones of fairness and us being on the same team and trying to you know have each other's best interest at heart, and really I think got us to a place where they were able to let their guard down and they were able to open up, and we were able to have kind of an open dialogue, and I was able to share my position, validate that I understood their position. And in that, we were able to get to kind of a point of not even common ground, but they agreed to exactly what I wanted. And so it worked out really well. And it wasn't, I mean, the deal worked out really well for them too. They made good money. So it was mutually beneficial. But I think the point was I had to help them through this language get over their own fear and limiting beliefs. So kind of because they got to the precipice and were like, oh gosh, do we really want to do this? Do we want to sell? And get them there. And then ultimately, I think it worked out well for both sides. And so that's just one practical application where I think, I think if you already have a good understanding of kind of sales and negotiation and things, then I think these pieces can be a really powerful kind of, I know I view of them kind of an extra tool, like a little bit extra to put it over and to really help you kind of come to I don't know, like the same ground as folks, or really just open them up. I guess disarm them is the right way to say that.
And you brought, I just want to bring up one quick point. You brought up a crucial point. Is it feels odd to you to use this language, and you would think other people would catch it, but because it goes straight to the subconscious mind, or conscious mind doesn't even hear it. It goes straight past the conscious mind directly into the subconscious. And as we know, the subconscious is the seat of all decision making. So we may as well learn how to craft messages that bypass the conscious mind, go right into the subconscious mind, even though they sound odd to us, because we know consciously what we're saying. They never get it consciously. They never go, I've been doing this 30 years. Maybe twice they said, oh, you're talking funny, but they don't get it. They don't get it consciously. I love these stories.
Yeah. And I think that's why it can be a powerful tool. And so, really, Paul, gosh, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing your new framework and
Thank you.
and us getting to share that story, because I do think, again, it's another tool in the tool belt. And it obviously made a big impact on me. I was able to secure a 48 unit property, really because I think because of those and that meeting I had. And so great. I wanted,
and we did
wanted
it.
to be able to
One more,
share
I'm
that.
going to brag. We did it
Yeah.
in like a 14-minute phone conversation. Everyone
think-
gets
I think it
a
was less
10
than
minute.
that.
Yeah. You use your 10-minute emergency call. You said, I have an emergency. I went, okay, I'll get on it with you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It was about
Oh
10
man, I
minutes.
miss working with you, dude. I'll give you a free session. I miss it so much. I really do. You were the highlight of my work week.
I do appreciate that. Before I let you get going, I want to take you through my keys to success
Sure,
round. Same
sure,
4 questions I ask everybody.
sure.
If you were investing your money with somebody else, and you could only ask them one question before you sent that check, what is the one question you would want to ask them?
Well, I would ask, what is your previous track record, or can you refer me to someone who's done investments with you before? You want to see what their track record is, because anyone can boast about anything. So I would ask, can you refer me to some people who have invested with you before?
Yeah, I think that's a great one. What are you most proud of in your career?
Well, this is a strange one. It's got nothing to do with real estate. I have a friend named Chase. Chase teaches interrogation for the military an intelligence agency. And he told me the other day, because we're going to be doing a seminar together, that my work has saved thousands of American lives through its application to interrogating people through intelligence and influencing bad actors, terrorists, criminals, that sort of people through the use of that subconscious language. That blew my mind. I had no idea that it was being used by intelligence agencies and the military and the law enforcement. I had no idea, and certainly not thousands of people. Found that out yesterday. So
Wow,
that's I'm blown away by that. Like,
very impactful. Yeah,
I know.
that's really cool. Awesome. Well, what's a book that everyone should read?
Oh, that's easy. My book, Subtle Words That Sell. You can get that on Amazon.
Fair enough. And lastly, what is your number one key to success?
I have joy with what I do. I have profound joy. You can tell this is this comes across. My joy comes across, does it not, Kent?
It does. It absolutely does.
I have a profound joy teaching and training and coaching. I'm not a public speaker. I'm not a motivational speaker because I can't see the results. So my joy comes in teaching and seeing the result of my teaching and the practical results of my clientele. To know that one of my coaches and mentors said, Paul, you're service-minded and impact-driven. And to hear also, you're the best teacher I've ever had. This makes me, you can see through my expressions, this makes me joyously happy, joyously happy.
Well, Paul, if people, are resonating with you today and they want to learn more about what you're doing, your coaching, how can they get a hold of you?
So I am getting more popular doing this. I do have a few slots to apply to work with me. I only work with people like Kent who are already really successful, and they're looking to constantly upgrade their toolkit. They don't want things out of the shelf. Go to Speaker Paul Ross /apply. It's Speaker Paul Ross /apply. I will vet every application, and if I think we can make a good fit, I will send you a link. I will have to say I'm the most expensive coach and trainer you will ever be glad you hired, but it's well worth the money, as you can testify.
Well, absolutely, Paul. And thank you so much for joining us today, teaching us a little more.
It's been my joy.
Yeah. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
I'm going to go grab some coffee. Thank you, Kent.